Enjoy this holiday season in beautiful Manitou Springs. Unique shops, galleries, lots of restaurants, and a variety of places to stay make Manitou Springs the perfect place to celebrate the season and support local businesses. Save your receipts and receive a voucher for 40% off an adult lift ticket to Ski Monarch Mountain. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas in historic Manitou Springs.
This is Studio 809.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Outdoors Hiking Bob podcast. I'm your host, Hiking Bob Falcone, and you can find me on your website. On your website, my website, Kevin's website, anybody's website. You can find me on the web. Oh, hell. You think, after 8 years, Kevin, you think I got this down by now. You can find me on the web at hikingbob.com, which links to my social media, my columns at The Independent. I think I need to update that link. I think it still has the old stuff. But if you go to csindy.com, you'll find me. And all the other podcasts we've done, you can also send me an email. There's a link there to drop me a line. I get a lot of emails from there, people asking questions and dropping comments. All that stuff is there, plus anything else. And a link to my photography website, so feel free to check that out also. And it's been a good season for people buying photos and photographic-related stuff from me with the specials we had. It's a little late now to get anything in time for the holidays, but you can order now and it'll show up afterwards. You can send people a thing saying, here's what I got you. And it'll show up probably right after the holidays. In any case, hikingbob.com. Joining me today, as you probably heard giggling because I was making a mess out of things, is my co-host, Wild Westendorf.
Hey everyone, it's Kevin Wild Westendorf, and you can find me on social media, Facebook and Instagram at Wild Westendorf, and my website, which is wildwestendorf.com.
Well, Kevin, let's catch up on some things. It's been a while since we had you here. We had a lot of podcasts with guests. We had a whole bunch of podcasts with the people from the GIVE campaign, different groups that are part of that. Susan Davies, who was talking about her retirement from Trails and Open Space Coalition, which is coming up right at the end of the year, stuff like that. So what have you been up to?
Just working a lot, but I have been getting some smaller hikes in. Nothing crazy. I'm still just trying to make myself established at work. And of course, I started working like right before the fall. So now like no time after work to go hiking, which is frustrating.
Yeah.
But we had 2 recent huge snowstorms. The last one was supposed to be a dusting, but it was shockingly bad. And the trails are still very, very packed with snow. Yeah,
I was just hiking on Sunday in Cheyenne Mountain State Park, and it was one muddy...
Oh yeah,
yuck mess. Yuck. It just there's that whatever that soil is, and it turns to grease.
Yeah,
when it gets wet. That's the problem with this time of the year, and you're working a daytime job. Is like you go to work, and of course you have to go to work, and the sun's barely up, so you can't even get up early.
Yeah,
and then by the time you get done, it's dark. I mean, you can hike in the dark in a flashlight, but. And that's cool if you have to, but I mean, you're kind of missing out on a lot of the enjoyment of it, being able to see things and that kind of stuff. Any plans for the holidays?
I'm just gonna have a Christmas lunch with my mom, but my winter time is when I start to make plans for my next big trip. Mm-hmm. And obviously with the layoff and health problems this past year, that was derailed. So I'm working on trying to really make up for that next year. Cool.
Well, I was just thinking too that in a couple of days we have the winter solstice, which will be the shortest day of the year.
Thank
and then
God.
The days start getting longer, so we're gonna get more time. And in another month, it'll almost be like, wow, you got a whole another half hour or so of daylight, so you'll be able to squeeze it in there. Speaking of trips, as everybody knows, I got my trip to Iceland coming up. That's in a couple more months still. It's right after Memorial Day, so not really around the corner yet, but almost to the point where I have to make the final payment. They take a deposit, which is about 10% of the cost, but then you have to pay the rest of it. You can do that whenever you want. But after, I wouldn't say, I didn't get burned on it, but when the trip to the Great Bear Rainforest was scheduled, I paid for it all up front. And then that trip got postponed a couple of years because right after that, COVID hit.
Oh, that's right.
And they, trust me, National Geographic made very good on that deal for me. So, but on the other hand, they had all the money.
Oh, I see.
You know, so it's like, well, I'm just going to hang on to it. I'm not going to wait till the last minute because that's dumb, but I'll probably take care of that pretty soon. But I had another opportunity come up. As anybody knows who listens to this, we're big baseball fans here at the house. Been to the Hall of Fame a bunch of times.
Shocker.
Yeah, I know, shocking, right? Have had season tickets to the Sky Sox / Vibes for most of the 30-some-odd years we've lived here.
Oh, wow.
And already bought our tickets for the next season. And when we were there right before COVID hit, and we had bought sponsored a bench on the grounds of the Hall of Fame.
Oh, I remember that, yeah.
You remember that? And that was the last time we were there, so it's been almost 5 years now. So the Hall of Fame sent me a thing, said we're going to have another VIP event and at the Hall of Fame, and you could do it either in April or in October or something. Well, April's going to be kind of tough because I'm going to be, I'm still in Arizona. I mean, I could fly in out of Arizona, and right after that, though, I'm going to Iceland. But I'm thinking October, the Hall of Fame, and fall colors in New England.
Oh, yeah.
I am smarter
Perfect
than the average rock. So I signed up for that one. And I've got a VIP membership, so I'm going to go there. So it's 2 days at the Hall of Fame with these. When they do these events, they take you into the basement where things are stored that you have to handle with white gloves that are not on display.
Oh, that's cool.
All these artifacts and stuff. So I'm going to do that. I'm probably going to go like a week early and spend a week in the Finger Lakes region of New York, which I've been there a number of times. Gorgeous waterfalls and lakes and fall colors. And kind of land in Albany, go all the way west, and for a week work my way back to Cooperstown, which is beautiful on its own, and then shoot the fall colors, spend 2 days at the Hall of Fame, doing all this stuff, and then drive back to Albany, which is about an hour and a half away, and get on the plane and fly home. So that's actually my 2 big trips for next year. I'm going to do some other smaller stuff in this region next year, probably not as much. I'm going to try and get out more into western Colorado. After having been there twice this past year, I realize how much I haven't been there, and do some more hiking and photography and stuff out there. So lots of little stuff, but kind of excited. So I got
I just looked up photos of Finger Lakes.
Oh, you just like pull up Watkins Glen, for example. It's gorgeous.
It looks like a bunch of fingers.
Yeah, it does. It does. It looks like, yeah.
But the waterfalls look incredible, too.
Yeah. And so picture that with fall colors around them.
Oh, I bet that's stunning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to do this. So that trip just came up within the last month. And, yeah, I'm looking forward to doing that. That should be a lot of fun.
Something like that.
I need to know where that is. Kevin showed me a picture of this stunning picture of this waterfall in the Finger Lakes area. I'm sure it's not hard to find. I just have to figure out what the name of it is. I've already started researching books on hiking and photography in the Finger Lakes region and got that all settled up and ready to go. So I'll be buying that stuff during the course. Probably right after I get back from Iceland, I'll really step up getting that trip, signed up. Although I've been told I should probably start looking at Airbnbs or hotels now.
Right. Yeah.
So I should probably get started on that, but I don't want to do anything till after the first of the year. Kevin, one of the things we track every year is I track how many miles I hike. My goal is 800 miles a year. This year has been a little tough. I've had injuries, and it's been limiting how many miles I go. Cole, I love going hiking with Cole. Now, I'm not one of those people I won't go on a hike if I can't take my dog. There's plenty of places I go that I can't take him, but I try to take him when I can. And he's been injured, although he has, over the last couple of months, been back to 100% health. So he's not limping anymore. His 2 knee injuries look like they've completely healed up. But his being not being able to go as far, I'm limited how many miles I go because I want to take him, but I don't want to push him too much. So
Makes sense.
He can do maybe 5-6 miles depending on the terrain, but not much more than that. So if I want to do an 8-mile hike, I kind of have to leave him home. And anyway, as of like a month or so ago, it looked like I had more than 100 miles to go. I was really behind. As of the day we're recording this, and there's going to be another hike, I'm hoping to do another hike in between when I'm recording this and when this goes live on Wednesday. I only need about 40 miles. I think I've got this. I think I'm at 759 point something miles. So it looks like I'll be able to knock that out, especially because by the time you listen to this, I'll be spending the rest of the year in Phoenix, where 1,000 feet of elevation and warm days, still going to be in the 70s during the day, And the sun, because we're further south and east, although still in the same time zone, or further south and west, I'm sorry, we're still in the same time zone, the sun sets a little later. Plus, there's not a 14,000-foot mountain blocking the sun. So it gives me more daylight. My point is, it gives me more daylight hours to work with. So I think I've got this pretty much nailed. 10 4-mile hikes, and I'm going to do like 5s and 6s and 7s and stuff like that.
Obviously, yeah.
So I think I got that. It may be 800.001 miles, but it'll be 800 miles. So I'm pretty excited about that. I know nobody cares except me, but you have to have goals. I've got to have... Having that goal is what keeps me on a day that I don't really want to do anything. From sitting around the house, becoming a cage potato, thinking in my mind, I need to get this goal. So it's for me to do that. Some of that will be part of my upcoming column in the Indy where I talk about New Year's resolutions. So that's a teaser. Watch for my next column. Man,
I'm jealous because I'm only around 200 miles. Usually I get way more than that.
Yeah, usually you do. We've all had it's been a challenging year for a lot of people on a lot of different fronts. And I can tell you, as getting older, very few people get to be this age. Yeah. Getting older, it makes it harder. And I'm not making excuses. You know, aging is a thing. It happens. You know, your joints get creakier. I've been dealing with arthritis for years in my knees. So that obviously doesn't get better as you get older and things are more sore and I need more rest and stuff like that. But I guess the point of all this is you set a goal. And even if you don't tell me what your goal is, I'm a public person, so I want people to know that when I write about a trail or I write about experiences, I'm actually doing it. Yeah, which is really the big reason why I post all my hikes and everything, because it gives people the sense that, well, he's actually been there and done this. I can write about a trail I've never been on, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go do that trail. So that I can tell you what exactly it's like. So by the end of the year, probably do my last hike on the 31st. I should have my 800 miles. So barring something that I don't foresee coming, which, it's unforeseen, so I don't know what's going to happen. But barring that, I should be able to get that 800 miles in for the year.
Cool.
Fingers crossed. I may have to set my goals for 700 miles next year. I might have to back this off, maybe 775.
I think I'll have to set mine for 800 next year to make up for this year.
We can do 800 miles together. I mean, not together, but simultaneously we can be going for 800 miles. Yeah. Because you're half my age. You kick my butt going out there anyway. I'm gonna be huffing and puffing at 5 miles. Kevin's gonna be going, I'll see you in 10 more miles or something like that. So that's probably not going to work out real well. So, Kevin, that I'm a big fan of the Coatrex app in Colorado. I think it's a great app. More and more people that I talk to, I run into people on trails and like, I don't know where I'm at, and such app doesn't have this one, and I don't know where it is. I suggest them to get and I've had people while they're in the trail talking to me or in their car. I had somebody stop me in a parking lot at a trailhead the other day and wanted to know about trails, and I said, well, get this app, and this has got all these trails on it because I knew it did. Coatrex app is a great app. By the way, they added a new feature to it now, avalanche predictions and warnings.
Oh, I saw that, yeah.
Is now a new feature on the Coatrex app. So there's even more information on there. Best of all, it's free, and it's paid for by Department of Natural Resources and Colorado Parks and Wildlife. It's a free app. It's a great app. But when you go out of state, like I frequently do, it's a hard time finding a decent trails app. We know I'm not a fan of all trails, only because there's unfiltered information in there that could be erroneous.
Exactly.
I just don't like it. And if you like it, that's fine. I'm not here to convince you of anything else. But if you like it and it works well for you, fine. If not, that's okay too. For me, I'm not a fan of it. So last year I tried an app called Gaia. And I thought it worked pretty well. But I've had an issue with it. And I had a premium subscription for it, which I had a discounted rate because I was a first-time subscriber. But I had an issue with it. And one of the details I like about Coatrex, and this one I'm going to talk about now, and what Gaia was supposed to do was if you put a mark on the trail and you want to measure a distance, you didn't have to draw a line on the whole trail or go point to point to point at every turn. You put a dot on the trail and you put a dot on the other end of the trail or wherever you wanted to measure. And it would snap, instead of drawing a straight line, like it was a big curve or something, instead of drawing a straight line across, it would follow that. It would snap, what they call snap to it. It would snap to the trail. Handy feature, Coatrex does it. Initially, Coatrex did not do it when you were offline, but it now will if you have the map saved to offline use. It'll even do it while you're offline. The problem, the big thing was that feature in my experience, 9 times out of 10 did not work. And it was when I looked it up, when I did a Google search of Gaia not snapping to trails, that was a constant complaint. And one of the biggest complaints I see when I look at it online, it's a constant complaint. And it's expensive. To renew my membership or my subscription to it was $60. And
wow.
Yeah,
okay,
$60. And it's part of the
it was that much.
Yeah, and it's part of the Outside Magazine thing, but that does not include Outside Magazine. That's like another $30. It is an expensive app, and for an app that doesn't work well very often, I wasn't willing to cough up the money for it. So I'm looking at other apps. Another one I looked at was called Natural Atlas, and that's actually what Coatrex is built off of. So it has that same exact look and feel, and I love the look and feel of that app. It's very easy to look at, it's very easy to read it. But I found when you're in Colorado, there's a lot of detail in there because DNR and CPW and all the land managers pour detail into that map. Outside of here, though, it was missing a lot of trails. I'd be out on a completely sanctioned official trail someplace, and Natural Atlas just would not have that trail on there. And it was about $30 a year. Wasn't happy with that. So I was getting these ads popping up for one called OnX Backcountry. They also make one for hunting, and they make one for off-road, four-wheeling type of thing. So I looked at that one, about $30 a year, but they also, and I think it's still going when you hear this, but you double check. I think they have a special deal right now where you can get it for like $7 for the first year, which is what I got. I got it for a huge deal. Not that it's not available to everybody. So I used that on my last trip to Arizona and found that it works really well. The Snap to It feature has not failed to work yet when I've been out there. The one thing we talked about, Kevin, we've talked about in the past, how with Coatrex and Natural Atlas, it would underestimate distances a bit.
Oh, yep.
Not terribly, but it would underestimate the distances a bit. OnX is dead on in agreement with my GPS. I'll create a route, start my GPS the same place I have it mapped on OnX, and by the time I get done, the two are in complete agreement. So I like that about it. It does all these different features. It's really easy to work with. So again, if you're in Colorado, I think Coatrex is the way to go, especially because it's free. Colorado Trails Explorer, it's trails.colorado.gov if you want to look it up on the website. But if you're outside or you just want other information, OnX Backcountry seems to be the app that works for me. And right now with the deal that's out there, if it's still out there, I can't guarantee it. If it's out there by the time you listen to it, as of the Monday before this comes out, when we're sitting here recording this, 2 hours ago it was still available. So my guess is they're going to have it available at least till Christmas, but I don't know that for sure. So if you go and try to get it and it's at full price, sorry, I warned you that it may not be available, but it's there. So I have found that to be a pretty cool app. I've been doing some comparisons with it in the field around here between Coatrex and OnX. A lot of the information is the same. It looks really good. So I would definitely, if you're looking for an app to use, especially out of state, I would definitely look at OnX Backcountry as your hiking mapping app while you're out there. Really nice app. This is not a paid endorsement. If you know anybody on X and would like to be a sponsor to this website or this podcast, please let me know. Let them know to call me. I'll be happy to have them on. So what do you think, Kevin? Have you looked at any other app besides?
No, I used to use Garmin's app. I found that was really good, but it was lacking. So I've mostly used Coatrex. And I do use All Trails, but I just use that to find trails, and then I will go on Coatrex or go online to find out actual stuff about it.
Right.
Well, I don't like, there's a lot of trails on All Trails that aren't updated.
Right.
There's like, it still shows trails for the Waldo Canyon area. And you have to go into the comments to see that it's closed,
right,
and such. Yeah.
One thing I found with OnX, to give you an example of how I found it to be useful, was one place I hike regularly when I'm in Phoenix is the Phoenix Sonoran Preserve, and there's different parts of it. There's the Apache Wash section and the Desert Vista section. So I'm planning on going out there, and of course I'm in my back of my mind, I need to get my 800 miles, so I'm trying to plot this trail, this route on some trails I've been on before, and I noticed a couple of lines on there, which are trails I did not recognize. I go to the trailhead, I look at the map, they don't have the same trails on there. So I hike back. I was going to go by this point anyway on this loop I planned. I get there, and sure enough, there's a new trail.
Oh, wow.
That was created that makes this big loop. It ended up being like a 7-mile loop in the preserve that was officially made. It has a name. Nobody's maps have been updated yet, but Onyx had it. So that's cool. Something I really, really liked about that.
Because I know it's dependent on the land managers and such, but there are certain trails that like get a lot of fanfare in the media that are built, and it'll be 6 months until it's updated on the code tracks, which can be really frustrating sometimes.
Yeah, and that's the fault of and we'll talk about one of those trails coming up here in just a second. That's usually the fault of the land manager, but you're correct.
Yeah.
But this one in Onyx, I'm looking at it going, man, I do not remember that trail, and I've been out there a bunch of times. I mean, I hit that trail many times while I'm out there on vacation and stuff. And I go out there and I look, and sure enough, here's this brand new trail intersection. I go, well, I'm going to go back there. And I start following it around, and sure enough, I pull up Onyx, and there it is. So I just plot the distance. Go, I'm going to do this one, this loop, this 7-mile loop instead of the 6-mile one I had planned. Completely new experience.
That's awesome.
And it was black, and it was all. And when I get there, there are signs, so I know that it wasn't just somebody drew this on out. There were signs back there. It just hadn't been updated yet in the map board that's at the trailhead, which is a great map board, but it hadn't been updated there yet. A lot of places did not have it, but that app had it. And like I said, my concern about all trails and some other apps is there's sometimes unofficial social trails that we really kind of discourage people from doing. This one was actually an official trail that Onyx had already had on their app. So I was pretty thrilled to find that. And it ended up turning out to be a great day of hiking on a new trail. And
it's always really, really exciting to hike a new trail, especially in a familiar area. I'm still, it's not a new trail anymore, but I'm still a huge fan of the Daniels Pass reroute.
Uh-huh.
It's perfect for mountain biking. I don't mountain bike, but I like going up and down on the trail, and
it's not straight down anymore.
Exactly, yeah. And it just makes for a really nice loop in that park.
Yep. It took City Parks a while to get that on the code tracks. And I kept asking them, why is this not on there? Why is it not on there? It turned out there was some issue, and they had to go with the file that they had to send to DNR to get it put on code tracks.
Oh,
so
okay.
I think they either had to spend some time fixing the file or they had to go remap it. But all those new trails, they've been there about 2 years now, at least, are now on code tracks now. So you can actually look at them and map them and everything like that. So they're all up there. Anyway, again, not a paid endorsement. Onyx isn't paying me for this or anything like that. But I like to share what I find for these different apps that I like to use. So Gaia is out. I was not going to pay $60 for something that didn't work most of the time. And that's twice as much as anybody else charges for. They do have a free version of the app. It does do a lot of things, but some of the important things you may want to do, like offline maps, not available if you don't pay for it. Cotrex does that for free. And the paid versions of Natural Atlas and Onyx Backcountry do that, included in the subscription price.
Cool.
So check those things out. Speaking of new trails, the Pioneers Open Space, El Paso County, that big 9-mile loop northeast of Black Forest, kind of the southwest corner of it, comes right across the street from the northeast corner of Section 16 up there. They've recently added a new trail. And if you've ever looked at the map, you see that this big square, it's a loop that the trail went through. And then what it was that was destined to become a big housing development. That whole section in there. That fell through, and this county got their hands on it, but not in the middle. So there's basically it literally is a loop, and in the middle is still privately owned. They were going to build a trail system in there, and then the Black Forest fire came through. And I think that's the way it worked out. In any case, it took a while for that to happen, and it opened up a couple years ago. But there was always this little tongue that came off of that loop that went to the corner of Vollmer Road and Shoup Road. And there's a little piece of it that came around there. And the idea was to connect that, to make another trail there, and eventually, and we'll get to this in a second, connect across this intersection to section 16. So you do like a loop, then make a bigger loop, and then come back and do this loop. So these two open spaces would connect. Well, anyway, what happened was they opened up, they created a trail through this. It's called the Farrar Trail, and they got an easement to actually make a loop because there's a big piece of private land between where that corner is and where the trailhead is. So what they did was they got an easement through here. So now there are 2 loops in the Pineries open space. The one big loop, it's about 9 miles, and then there's this shorter loop that you can do, or you can make them into one big loop, or there's all kinds of possibilities there. That's not yet on Cotrex. I had a bunch of email conversations today with the planner for this, Ross Williams, a great guy at County Parks. That should be getting done pretty soon. There's no sign for it, so you have to know where it is. I did a Facebook post on it and kind of talked about where it was. So look at my Facebook at Hiking Guide on Facebook, and I have a thing on there where how to find it. I did it clockwise. So I started on the main trail because I knew where it would start there, found it, and walked back to the trailhead. And it was that loop is about 3.45, about 3.5 miles. I would suggest going out of the parking lot and doing it counterclockwise, because then you meet the main loop, and depending on how you feel, you can either keep going counterclockwise and come back to the trailhead, 3.5-ish miles, or go right and just do the bigger loop, or go as far as you want, turn around and come back, or something like that. So there's a bunch of different options on it. I got in my email today a brand new map with this on it. It's still not even on the county website. I will have this posted fairly soon, and I'm going to have more details about this in a column in the Indy after the first of the year. So that's going to be coming up. I do know that a connection across that intersection is in the works, but it's going to be a few years down the road, because there's a road project planned for that intersection. And as part of that project that Public Works is going to build, they're going to build a connection to the two open spaces.
I see. All right.
But it's down the road a bit. Not going to happen right away. It's coming. I'll have more details coming up. But that's and a nice new development in this open space. A lot of people would like to see trails crisscrossing through the middle, but that's still private property. When you hike that trail, you go across 2 roads that go back in there that, you have an easement across those roads, but there's signs on both sides telling you do not go down these roads. It's still private property. Please respect that. Don't go where you're not supposed to go. It's not a hard 9 miles around there. It's a fairly flat trail. It's an easy trail, but it's still 9 miles, and there's no bailout. You either got to, once you get to the halfway point, you may as well just keep going, So it's a ways around there. Also, they've renamed the trail. The main loop trail used to be the Pineries Loop Trail. It is now called the Grandview Trail because of the Grandview overlook that's at the far northeast corner of the open space. That's not on the signage yet or on the map, but it's on the map I have, and I've been told that is the official name. They're just going to take them a couple more weeks to get all the signage put up and everything. So that trail also has a new name called the Grandview Trail. I got all the information.
Nice.
So, Kevin, has it been a while since you've been up there? I mean, I love going up there. It's a nice place to go. The cyclists like the loop because at 9 miles, it's an easy cycling thing. A little harder for hikers, but
I actually don't think I've been to Pineries open space. I've been to Section 16 out there. Yeah, I would love to do that big loop. I am a fan of Section 16, even though it's flat. It's a nice hike.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to name names, but I just remember how someone was talking to me about the Pineries open space and talking about how they like to fish at a lake there. Mm-hmm. But I see on this map that says no access.
I'm not going to say nothing.
So,
I don't know who that was. Wasn't me. I'm not a fisherman.
So I'm going to call the cops after this podcast and let them know.
CPW, get their game wardens out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that little lake, it says no access, is actually within the park boundaries. I need to check to see if they plan on building any trail out to the lake. There may be an issue with the water rights to that lake and everything that I'm not aware of. So before everybody goes out there, look at the map, say, I'm going to go out there. There may be, it's like Blue Stem Prairie open space in the south end of the city. It's the same kind of a thing. There's a big trail open space around a reservoir, but the reservoir is off limits because that's not part of the system. And there's a whole issue. That's a reservoir that actually feeds some of those towns of the south part of south of Colorado Springs. So there's a lot of that goes on. So there may be an issue with the water rights for that lake that you and I are looking at going, fishing, huh?
Yeah.
So anyway, that's up there. But it's a really cool spot, and I can't wait to go out there. And I might actually make this a big honking loop. That makes the new trail by itself is about 2 miles. So that would make this almost like an 11-mile.
Oh, that's a perfect length, too.
Yeah.
It's a nice all-day hike.
Yeah, it would make it a pretty good.
I might have to check that out on my next day off then.
Yeah, go out there. So it's not marked. So what I would suggest, again, from the parking lot, there's there's a big parking lot, there's a fence there. From the fence, just look for the trail that goes south. And the road that comes in, where the road makes a curve that comes into the parking lot, the trail crosses that road.
Okay.
And then goes along the fence line and then loops back around. Like I said, when you get to where the main trail is, you can either go right and keep going as far as you want to go and turn around, or you can just go left and just go all the way back to the parking lot. I made it the other way, so I end up back at the parking lot. Okay, I'd rather do it the other way. So
Okay.
you have an option. I mean, yeah, I could still keep going, and I did. I went a little further because I wanted to get about 4 miles. So I went up a little ways and then came back. But in any case, you don't have to do a whole loop. You do whatever you want. I mean, that's what's out there. Kevin, we're ramping up the holiday season.
Yep.
Getting really close. My column last week in the Indy was gift ideas.
That's right, yeah.
What do you get for the outdoor person? My wife hates buying anything for me because, like I said in the column, and most of us are like this who do this kind of stuff, I get what I need, and if I don't get it, I either don't need it or I can't afford it.
Yeah.
At a budget. So I started off with the 10 essentials because they're things everybody should have. So rummage through your person on your list backpack and look at my list of 10 essentials and see what they don't have and go buy one of the 10 essentials. And all kinds of ideas. Anyway, that's in the Independent. Go check on that. Another one coming up is going to be New Year's resolutions. And
I've got to work on mine.
And they're going to, you're running out of time.
Yeah.
You're not going to make your resolution for 800 miles. You start walking now, you're not going to make it.
I'm going to make a resolution for Bob to do 900 miles.
I'm going to make a resolution to tell you to shut up. 900, you're trying to kill me. The New Year's resolutions are going to be pretty easy. I mean, let's face it, New Year's resolutions are typically a disappointment.
Yep.
And I'm not saying it's not bad to set goals for yourself. They're there for people to, I want to do something.
Aspire to.
And that's cool. But the thing is, ask a gym owner how many new people we have show up on January 2nd. And then ask them how many people are still there on March 2nd.
Exactly.
And I'm not saying that people don't have the best of intentions. It's just that some things are harder to do and people don't want to go through it, or they're not as exciting as people want to do, or they're set their goals a little too high. And it's okay. But if you set them so high that you just disappoint yourself because you can't do it, then there's no fun in that. So I set my New Year's resolution column is going to be about stuff that you can easily do. There's going to be a few in there that I do admit may take a little bit more effort, but most of them are going to be pretty easy stuff to do. Like set a goal for your miles.
Yeah.
If it's 200 miles, set a goal and then go for it. Even if you're the only person who really cares, and like I said, I'm the only person who really cares about mine, but set a goal and just go for it. So they're going to be easy to do. Did you have a resolution you would like to do other than make me do 900 miles?
Well, my standard one has always been to try and do 500 miles, and that's been my standard since 2018. So, yep.
Okay, go for it. And for you, should be easy.
Yeah.
You're young, still got all your joints still work. You don't wake up like I do with everything creaking and groaning and everything. You should be fine. And to be fair, I can do 800 miles because being retired, obviously I have all the time in the world. I get it that if you are working like you are, and most people are who listen to this, and you can't do it, I get it. That's not, so it may not be a reasonable goal for you, but set a miles, 500 miles. And to be honest with you, for the slightly above average hiker, 500 miles is not as difficult as it may seem. I did that when I was still working. I was doing 500 miles.
Yeah, and I did almost 600 miles in 2018. But of course, I did a 50-mile hike at the Grand Canyon that year. But
way to overachieve.
Yeah, not to brag or anything. But yeah, I've found if I just stay consistent with it, it's pretty easy to rack up the miles.
Yeah. And last thing is the Give campaign is going on. I did 5 actually, if you include the one with Susan Davies from Trails for Open Space Coalition, about organizations that are in the Give campaign, including 2 that were new to the campaign. So if you haven't looked at the Give campaign, go check that out and find an outdoor group or any other group in any category that you like and send them whatever you can. This is the big fundraiser of the year for these nonprofits. They've all been vetted. I was part of the vetting. I was part of the vetting process one year. We looked at how they're structured and how their financials are, and are they being good stewards of their money. And I mean, we didn't get into micromanaging them, but are they spending their money to do what what they say they want to do? So they've been vetted, and they're all going to be groups that are worthy of your donation. So find as many as you can to donate to, and you have until the end of the year to do that. So by all means. And if you don't know that, my email address is info@hikingbob. You can find me on PayPal and send me some money.
Yeah. Okay.
Kevin, what do you got? You got anything? I've been blathering on for a while, but we've had a great conversation. What do you got that's going on?
I think I'm just in the mode of planning for next year, because I do tend to slow down in the winter, and I it's been a year of chaos, but things like I feel like I'm getting back on my feet, so I can kind of go back to normal. I'm really excited to get back into that, and the nature of my work requires me to work on Saturdays. So my days off are, after almost 8 years of having the weekends off, like it's an adjustment, but I'm off on Sundays and Thursdays, and I forgot how nice it is to hike during the week.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's just so much quieter, and like, I don't have to worry about parking, and I don't have to worry about like dealing with a million families who are hiking way too slow, and I have to like, excuse me, because a lot of people don't have spatial awareness.
Situational awareness.
Yes.
That too. The two run hand in hand.
Yeah, it's just nice. It's calmer.
I don't go on trails very much on weekends. This past weekend, I did a Sunday trail hike, but I was in Cheyenne State Park doing a trail ambassador thing. So my goal was to be out there when people were out there and interact with the other visitors and check trail conditions and stuff like that. So yeah, you're right though. I mean, it's nice going out on a weekday, especially a Thursday. I mean, it's not even like a Friday where people get off work early. It's Thursday. Everybody wishes they're waiting for Friday, but they're still working.
Yep.
So you get to go out there and do that. Speaking of Cheyenne Mountain State Park, just a side note, just thought of it. I saw a roadrunner in Cheyenne Mountain State Park over the weekend. Shocked me. I see them a lot in Arizona. You see a lot of them in New Mexico. They're common in the desert. And I saw something moving in the bushes, which is not uncommon. And it was an actual roadrunner. And I'm like, and I could not get my camera out. So if anybody says pictures or didn't happen, bite me. I went for my camera. It disappeared in the bushes, but I've seen plenty of roadrunners. I go to the visitor center and say, hey, did I just see a roadrunner? And they go, oh, yeah, it's been hanging around for a couple of weeks. It was at the visitor center and then reported in the campgrounds and stuff. So there's a roadrunner, obviously about 500 miles off course in Cheyenne Mountain State Park. So when you're out there, there's a roadrunner. It looks like the one of the cartoons, just not as big. They're actually fairly small. No, I did not see a coyote chasing it.
I was just about to ask.
There was a fresh shipment from Acme at the visitor center, which I think was dynamite, an anvil, and a catapult, but I didn't see a coyote anywhere. There are coyotes out there. In any case, there's a roadrunner running around Cheyenne Mountain State Park.
Cool.
I let one of our volunteers there, who's big on the birding part of activities there, because there's a lot of birding that happens there.
Yeah.
He said he'd seen one once before. It's been a few years in the park. And he says there are some that actually hang out in Hanover, which is in the southeast corner of El Paso County. I had no idea that they were anywhere. I was surprised to see one anywhere north of central New Mexico, to be honest with you. But
yeah, I didn't know that they came up this far north.
I'm not convinced it's actually normal. And they look like what you think they look like. They do have that little plume on their head. They have that very long tail. They have long legs. So they are what you think they are, like in the cartoon. They're just not 4 feet tall like they look in the cartoon. They're actually, probably...
Oh, they're very small.
I imagine if it's a foot off the ground, that's probably a big one. They're not that big. I mean, they're not like sparrow or wren size. They're more like robin or blue jay size, I guess might be the best way to put it. But pretty cool to see one out there. So I was like, I'm looking at that going, you've got to be kidding. And I always have that camera right in my pocket, right in my one of my water bottle holders in my pack is actually a camera. But before I could get it out, and it's got a telephoto lens, get it out, take a picture of it, it disappeared into the bushes, and I couldn't find it anymore. So, but fortunately, the people at the visitor center say they've seen it, so I'm validated on that.
Good, cool.
So there's a Roadrunner running around Cheyenne Mountain State Park.
That's one of my favorite things about hiking. It's the wild animal.
Yeah.
But I told this story before on here. But one time I was hiking up to Lily Lake or Lily Pond. It's an alpine lake that's outside of Westcliff, and I got there really, really early. The sun is rising, and I parked my car, so I still have to walk a bit on the dirt road to get to the actual trail. And I'm hearing this blood-curdling screaming. I legitimately thought like someone was in trouble or hurt or something.
It was just somebody in your trunk. You forgot you locked somebody in the trunk.
Duh.
Sorry.
And I get to this point of the road where I look down, and it was a coyote,
Mm-hmm.
and I had no idea that they sounded like that. And so when you said you didn't see a coyote following this Roadrunner, it reminded me of that story. But yeah.
I also saw, and it's no surprise, anybody's in Cheyenne Mountain State Park, a lot of deer in there, but I saw this beautiful 8-point buck in there on
nice.
the same hike. Gorgeous looking deer, just beautiful. This nice big rack. That's not uncommon. You see them a lot down there. They're all over the place, along with the bears and occasionally mountain lions. You never know what you're going to see out there, but a Roadrunner took me by surprise. I mean, I'd expect to see a rabbit. You see them all over the place and stuff, but this was a Roadrunner. So if you've never seen one, go to Cheyenne Mountain State Park. Can't guarantee you see it. Don't know where you're going to see it, but there's one out there. I'm hoping it makes it through the winter, either finds its way back to warmer climates or finds a place warm to survive through the winter, because it's going to get colder before it gets warmer around here. Kevin, I don't have anything else other than to say to everybody listening, have a happy holiday. Thank everybody for listening and being here. We've made a change in the podcast. I did a survey recently, and overwhelmingly people like the new format.
Good.
I asked on the survey, and I still have to get down all the details and tabulate the percentages. One of the questions I asked was, do they like the interviews? They like hearing you and I talk like this. A lot of people like the interviews, but they say, don't get rid of you and I
cool.
talking.
Okay.
They still want you on here.
Okay, good.
Obviously, my voice is irritating, but so they still want to hear us get together every once in a while and talk, but they like the interviews. I'm working. As a matter of fact, just as you were coming in today, I was typing up a couple of emails to people for interviews to have them on the podcast. So they like it. They like the twice a month. I don't think anybody necessarily would be unhappy if we went to once a week like we were, but twice a month seems to be, people do like that.
Yeah.
I personally think the podcast has gotten better by doing it twice a month. So I think it's gone better, and it gives me more time to plan those and look for people to have on here. I've got a couple of books that I'm reviewing right now that I'm looking to have some of those authors on here.
Nice.
That seemed to poll pretty well. People seem to like that. In the comments, they like hearing from authors and people from outside the local area. Like the local feel of this. So if you're not from Colorado Springs, some of the stuff we talked about may kind of not make sense to you, but the people who live here like that part. But I also want to appeal to a bigger audience by having some of these book authors and more nationwide things. So trying to find that even line there someplace to make it local, but also make it appeal to people outside the local area. People who maybe you want to come visit here. This is the podcast to listen to if you want to know what's going on in the region.
Which has happened a lot, actually.
Yeah, we do. You've gotten contacted. I've gotten contacted from people. I've had a couple of those, aren't you hiking Bob incidents?
Yep.
So, always fun. And if you see me out there, always, by all means, say hi. And I always love to chat with people and see how things are going. So Kevin, have a happy holiday.
Thank you. You too.
We will be back after the first of the year. Yeah, we'll be back after the first of the year. This is the last one for 2024. Holy cow, this is the last one for 2024.
Wow.
The next one will be right around the first of the year. So we'll be back after the first year. Everybody out there, have a good time. Have a great holiday. Have a safe holiday, by all means. Have a good holiday, Kevin. And everybody out there, please have a great and safe holiday.
Thanks, everyone.
And with that, we'll say thanks for listening to the Outdoors Hiking Bob podcast.
And we'll talk to you later.